Hello everyone, my name is Jab Skywalker, but you could call me Jabs. Are you thinking about moving to the city of Syracuse? Well, you're in luck because I have the top 5 pros and cons you need to know before you make that step. So let's get into it. Just so you guys know, from my perspective, I lived in Syracuse for 2 years. I lived and worked there. I lived about a 7-minute car ride from downtown. And I'm someone who actually lived in the city. I went out, I met people, I went to the restaurants, the bars, I met bartenders. So, this is a good example of what you can kind of expect, especially if you're someone new coming into the scene. So we are going to start right off the bat with the cost of living. That is the first pro. The cost of living is phenomenal in Syracuse. For my rent when I moved, I paid $5.95 a month for my first year, and then when I re-signed, I paid $6.15 a month. Now this apartment was on like a small hill. It was a very nice area. It wasn't like a crappy area. It was a really good area. I felt safe and I felt like walking around. And it was also a 7-minute car ride from downtown, 7-minute Uber ride, whatever. And I was also like 8 minutes from work. So the cost of living is really good in the city of Syracuse. If you want to start out in a city that's not quite New York City, but still kind of has, a traditional urban New York type style. I think Syracuse is great. Even the apartments downtown are upwards of, they're like $3,000 max. Now I know that's still a lot for rent, but that's a lot better than living in a box in New York City for the same price. So cost of living in Syracuse is really good. I didn't make that much with my job. I won't disclose how much I made, but it definitely was just above like a livable wage. So, and I still managed to live in the city of Syracuse happily, healthy, and yeah, I wouldn't recommend trying to go somewhere that you can't afford, but Syracuse is somewhere you definitely can look at, and there are a lot of places to live. I will talk about places to avoid, but let's go on to the next pro, which is the food. The food in the city of Syracuse is amazing. The restaurants are great. And one of the burger joints is called Allen Angus. It's actually nominated. It was nominated in a statewide burger competition, and it beat out every single burger joint that was in New York State. And it went on to compete against a town in Iowa, like nationally, and it lost, but it's the second best burger, like nationally, within that competition. And you can find that right in Syracuse. But there's so many nice restaurants downtown, and just across the city in general. If you like food, then you will definitely like the city of Syracuse. There's so much for you. Even just downtown, there are multiple options. There's Mexican food, there's fish, there's pasta, there's pizza, there's all types of stuff down, even just in the regular spot downtown. You can find a lot of stuff. There's Asian cuisine, there's a lot of stuff. If you like food, then you will like the city of Syracuse. All right, let's move on to the third pro, and that is nightlife and events. Nightlife and events. Boy, what can I say? I had my fun in Syracuse, and nightlife is great there, especially more Saturday. But if you're going to move there, definitely explore Armory Square. That is like the main hub for all your restaurants and bars. It's like the main area people go to, but the downtown layout is really nice. This is coming from someone who grew up in a city, so I can tell you, like, the layout there was actually better than the city I grew up in, honestly, downtown. There's another street, like another stretch off of Armory Square. There's plenty of stuff to do every single night. And events, Syracuse has a lot of events, especially for music and food. There's something called the Taste of Syracuse, which I enjoyed, of course, before the pandemic. I got to experience Taste of Syracuse. Awesome. You literally just go around pretty much every single restaurant in the area. Maybe even Central New York, they come to Syracuse, and you can try samples of their food for like $1. Obviously, you can buy stuff too, but there are a lot of traditional cuisines and just a lot of like American food too. There's all types of like sweets and all those type of things. If you like sweets, you have a sweet tooth, then you will be okay with the city of Syracuse in terms of events. And also, if you like music, if you have a sweet ear for music, then there is the Jazz Festival. There's also the Lakeview Amphitheater. You can also go there and you can see concerts. There's just a good amount of stuff to do throughout the year, especially during the summertime. Of course, the weather's nicer. So when the weather's nicer, there is a lot more to do. Now let's talk about pro number 4, and it's the sports scene. So if you really like sports, then Syracuse is a great city for you. Not only do we have SU, but there was Lemoyne, all the colleges, but there's also sports within the city of Syracuse. So like the Syracuse Mets team for baseball, the Crunch for hockey. There's a lot of sporting events and a big sports scene in Syracuse. Of course, if you know about SU and stuff, they almost always make it, like, especially with March Madness, they're usually in there, or, you know, just like games in general. If you're an SU fan, then you would obviously fit in Syracuse. But sports in Syracuse, if you're a fan of sports, you would fit in easily and you will have a great time. All right, let's move on to the last pro in the top 5, and that is transportation. Transportation in Syracuse is actually really good, and I don't just mean like, obviously I mean public transportation, but I mean like there's no traffic usually on the roads. It's not crazy like other cities. It's not that big of a city, so of course it's not going to be like, you know, a New York City or Austin or something like that. But the transportation in the city of Syracuse is really good, especially if you want to take the bus. There is a hub called the Central Hub that is directly linked to all other bus routes. So like you can take a bus there and pretty much go anywhere throughout the area. Some areas like within the county, you can go to the Central Bus Hub and you will find your bus that will take you to an area, and all the buses meet there too. So if you take one, you'll end up downtown at the Central Bus Hub. But when it came to getting Ubers, more before the pandemic, it was a lot easier to get rides like Ubers or Lyfts. A little bit after the pandemic, it started to become more difficult. But yeah, and this is coming from someone who had the best of both worlds. I mean, I had a car, I did drive it around, but when I didn't have my car, I used public transportation a lot. So I used the bus. This was definitely more before the pandemic. I used the bus, and I took Ubers and Lyfts, and I can tell you that the transportation is usually pretty good and there's no traffic. Okay, so you heard all the good things about the city of Syracuse and living there. So we're gonna go to the top five cons and why you don't want to maybe consider living in Syracuse. All right, so the first con to living in the city of Syracuse is the violence. Now, of course, it's a city, right? You're probably going to expect some type of violence, or you're going to expect there to be like bad areas. Syracuse has gotten very worse since the pandemic. When I first moved there, I worked in news, so I sort of know like the rate of crime and what was going on. When I first moved there, it was bad, but it definitely got worse to the point where teens are killing teens, and it was, a mess to actually report that at my job. But yes, the violence in Syracuse is not good. I would say that there are certain areas a lot better than others, like definitely avoid the south side, upper north side, far west side. Those areas are not good and usually have the most crime. But you can look up like crime statistics and stuff like that, but Syracuse has had some heightened crime since the pandemic, and it's pretty bad. As it is like pretty much in every urban setting, you know. So yeah, that is the top 5 con is the violence, guys. Not saying like I didn't feel safe walking around, but I definitely want to take a stroll like at night, just like somewhere that wasn't like a main downtown hub like Armory Square. I definitely wouldn't just like walk around. So yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, the number 2 con is the winters in Syracuse. Now, if you don't like winter, you don't like snow, then you probably shouldn't move to Syracuse or just central New York in general, because you will get snow and a lot of it. And I was told the 2 years I was there that the winters there were very mild when I was there. Like, it wasn't even the full brunt of what people usually get in the city of Syracuse. So if you don't like snow, you don't like shoveling it, because the sidewalk program is awful in the city of Syracuse. They don't really shovel sidewalks. They haven't, especially since the pandemic. They took that out of the budget. They've since made efforts to put that back, but the sidewalks, if you're gonna have to shovel, you're gonna have to shovel everything. That's pretty much, if you don't have like a landlord that's gonna do it, you're gonna have to do that. Luckily, I lived on like a hill, apartment complex on a hill, and also I did not have a car during the winters, so I know it could be worse if I did. But I didn't have to shovel. The people working in the building like shoveled the stairs, but like the driveway was always like kind of icy and stuff, and I would like walk down it. So yeah, if you don't like winter or snow, do not move to Syracuse or central New York in that case. All right, let's go to the 3rd con, and that is the homelessness in Syracuse. The population of homelessness, it's kind of daunting. It is. You see people like under an interstate, or people are begging like downtown, and of course, again, homelessness is gonna be an issue in the city, in general. It's a big issue nationwide, and in Syracuse, you can definitely see. I mean, you see the same people out, but you also see some other people just kind of out on the street. There are some tents I would see, sometimes sleeping bags. And obviously this is a problem that needs to be solved nationally, but I'm just saying the city of Syracuse, like, definitely expect to see like homeless people around while you're walking or driving around. You will see them. All right, con number 4 is Interstate 81. Now, this is a highway around the city of Syracuse. It goes around the city of Syracuse and pretty much areas throughout central New York. And it's one of the main interstates. And it looks like crap. It looks like it's going to crumble any day, like it's going to fall. And it's been mentioned in President Biden's infrastructure plan. His $2 trillion infrastructure plan mentions straight up Interstate 81 in Syracuse. There's been an 81 project there for years. Nothing has gotten done. I worked in news, and the people who work in Central New York in Syracuse told me, like, before I got there, like, this has been a thing for a long time. They haven't done anything about it. But I'm not saying you can't drive on a highway there. That's not true. If you look under the bridge, there seems to be some stability, but it just looks awful. It looks kind of rotten. You know, they know it needs to be replaced, and hopefully they don't wait until someone actually falls off of it or starts crumbling to replace it. But yeah, Interstate 81, not good. Definitely a con to live in Syracuse. And that brings me to the last one, and that is the roads. So the roads in the city of Syracuse, especially because of the winters, there are going to be some potholes. You're definitely going to run into certain areas where there will be streets where you're like, whoa, do they even know to pave this? Like, they probably don't have the budget for it now since the pandemic, but they also are probably just ignoring some side streets and focusing on main ones. Like Erie Boulevard, they recently did over, and that's like a main stretch with like a lot of shops in the city of Syracuse. But the roads are pretty bad. They're choppy in certain areas. And yeah, you will run into some potholes for sure in the city of Syracuse. So those are my top 5 pros and top 5 cons to living in the city of Syracuse. What do you think? Do you want to move there? Do you not? Let me know in the description below. Let me know if I helped you out before your moves. And if you have any questions about living there, feel free to comment below and ask, and I will definitely get to them promptly. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope the best of your todays are the worst of your tomorrows.